Trading days, September 17th, 2016. Much of the astrology we see is natal astrology based on people. And a lot of the astrologers are working in that area, drawing up charts for people. The astrology you see beside the Sunday funnies in the newspaper, that's typically natal astrology, and probably not worthwhile looking at. Something else I use is mundane astrology. So this is the astrology of world events and leaders. And one of the techniques we can use is called cycle charts. And typically what I've done, and well, what others have done, is draw up cycle charts for each planet. I strictly use Mars out to Pluto, and just all I'm using right now are the what we'll call original planets, so Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And when we're using cycle charts, we only deal with the planet in question. In other words, if we've got a lot of different aspects in a chart, we're only dealing with the aspects off of the chart that we're drawing it up for. In this case, Jupiter. If we were looking at progressions or transits, progressions are a way to do forecasting. Again, with a Jupiter cycle chart, you'd only be dealing with progressions of Jupiter. The planets that are transiting this chart, when they hit Jupiter and only Jupiter, then you can read those transits. So how do we draw up a Jupiter chart? Let's take a look at that. This one says February the 4th, 2011. So I'm going to go back to this chart we looked at earlier. And you may remember it's got the declinations at the bottom. The blue line, the dark blue line, is Jupiter. And Jupiter is coming up here. Let's just put an arrow on this. I said February the... Yeah, whoop. February the 11th. Yes. February the 4th, 2011. That makes more sense. Let me just get it here for you. Okay, so you can see the blue line, which is moving off. There's a dotted line here, and that's 0. So this is the point I wanted to make. In these cycle charts, you draw up a chart when the planet in question, in this case Jupiter, crosses 0 degrees of declination from south to north. So the below the 0 line is south, above the 0 line is north. So we only draw up a cycle chart when the planet in question is crossing 0 degrees of declination. If the planet will later cross the line but going from north to south, and we won't count that, we'll wait until the next time, and it'll be a few years, that the planet in question crosses 0 degrees of declination. So that said, let's go back and look at this. So there's two ways we can, there's a number of things we can add on to this. First of all, we can look at the planets in the chart, and we're only going to look at aspects from Jupiter to any other aspects. So to any other planets aspecting it. And when I had my list of planets, I should have mentioned the north and south node, because here they are, the north and the south node. And the north node is in pretty close square to Jupiter. So that may be, although Jupiter is the greater benefect, adding good things to whatever we're looking at, some aspects, the negative part of Jupiter, things can get overdone. So if I wanted to see what was affecting this now, I will draw up a chart. So this is a chart, same chart here. The inner wheel is the Jupiter cycle chart, and the outer wheel really are the where the planets are now, and therefore we can see what they're in aspect to. We see the moon just past Jupiter. The one that I wanted to bring up here is transiting Jupiter, is opposing the Jupiter that was in the Jupiter cycle chart. So the inner wheel here, we got the original Jupiter cycle chart. The outer wheel in this diagram is the transits as they are now. So again, what we have here are things that may be overdone because we're using mundane astrology. We're not talking about people here. Where the fourth house doesn't become a person's home, but it becomes the homeland. So we may have things overdone here in something to do with the homeland. And we're looking at the USA on the original chart. So this is another way of doing astrological analysis for mundane astrology, and that would be the astrology of world events and leaders, not necessarily individual people. Thanks for listening. Bye.